Hi and welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Kassi and I'm your host. So for today we are going to finally be learning how to make a basket. So this is going to be the first household item we make besides a dish rag, and I'm really excited about this. So we're not just going to be learning how to make one basket, but we're going to be learning how to make nesting baskets. And this is a really great project for having some decorative items around the house to help organize your stuff. You can also use this pattern to create Easter baskets if you would like that, or just create baskets of any kind. My goal right now is basically just teaching you how to make a nice sturdy basket that's going to look impressive and look nice and neat in your home. All right, so here's the supplies we're going to need. We're going to need 2 skeins of chunky yarn, and you can either get it in the same color or get it in 2 different colors like I did. Chunky yarn is a size 6, okay? So that's the weight we're gonna be using. And with the size 6 weight, I'm gonna use an M crochet hook, okay? The M hook is a 9mm hook, and it's a pretty large hook, okay? Just so you know, you don't have to use chunky weight and you don't have to use the M. However, if you use a different weight, and let's say a smaller hook, you're probably going to want to also pick up some spray starch, because that's the way you can get it firm enough to hold itself up on its own. This has not been sprayed with starch at all, and it sits up just fine without any kind of extra support, and that's because the chunky weight is a great weight to use to make nice stiff baskets that aren't going to be too slouchy. Now, of course, you might prefer to have a slouchy basket, and that's fine too. All you have to do is make your stitches a little bit more loose. So before we get into how to make the basket, I do want to say, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. I'm really excited about this channel, and I'm very committed to making sure I'm putting out videos every day. And these kinds of videos are tutorials. I'm also sharing with you some really fun things you can do, like get mystery boxes from different companies, how to save money on yarn, and just how to craft in general, because we're not just sticking to yarn crafts, although that's what I'm focusing on now, but I also have other kinds of craft ideas that I think would be just right up your alley if you like to do things yourself and make things yourself. And I also wanted to let you know that when you like and when you comment and all of that, it helps me know that I'm doing a good job. And so that it's a win-win for everybody, because if you don't like what you're seeing, then you can explain what you don't like about it. And if you do, then it helps me know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in my job at creating this content for you guys, all right? So let's get back to the baskets. So I obviously already made the small basket, and don't worry, it's not like you're going to need to know every single step of every single basket, because these baskets are all done the exact same way. And I'll be giving you the ways of making both the small, the medium, and the large at the end of the video. We're going to be doing the medium basket this time because I think it's the best size to show you exactly how to do this. But let's go ahead and look at this small basket before we begin, so that we can kind of get an idea of what kinds of stitches we're going to be using. So if you look at the very bottom, this is where we start. And we start with creating a circle here, and then putting a certain amount of double crochets, or I'm sorry, half double crochets around that circle. Okay, so that's essentially the first round, is that half double crochets. Okay, and then the second round we increase, and then we increase again for the third round. All right, so and so we've got these half double crochet rounds, and you'll learn how to crochet in the round. I'm sorry, my light just went out. I've got to fix that. All right, guys, sorry about that. I just wanted to mention my photography lights. Looks like I need to get them replaced. So if the lights do go out again, I'm going to make sure that I have as much light as I can get so that you guys can see what we're doing. So going back to the pattern, once we have those 3 rounds for the small basket, then we start up the side. And the way that we do this is that we're going to be doing in the round again in that single crochet up the side, and then we're going to be doing that in 6 rows, and then the last 2 rows will be in that contrasting color if you decide to use 2 colors. And then the very last step is that we go back to this bottom right here, and we put in a single crochet all the way around that so that we get this nice little rim here when we're putting our basket down that really showcases not only this kind of style. It looks, I personally think it looks real pretty, but it also is, you see a little bit of that second color at the beginning and at the end, so it just kind of comes together real nice. This is my preference, and you'll find that if you watch other basket tutorials, they're going to be designed pretty much the same way. Some people prefer to do half double crochets up the side. I just particularly like single crochets because the single crochets end up getting it a lot more stiff. And of course, if you want to have something that's holding something, let's say on your desk or maybe on a countertop, you're going to want it to stand up and not be so slouchy. Although if you do want to make a slouchier type basket, then you can either use a half double crochet when you're crocheting up the side, or you can just make just a little bit of a looser stitch here. All right. So that said, we are going to start the medium basket. Again, I just want to make sure you guys know what you need. We're going to have 2 skeins of size 6 chunky weight, okay? And we are going to be using a 9mm M hook, okay? All right, so this is going to give you the best results. Since we started with the light color for the first basket, I'm going to go ahead and make this medium basket with the dark color. This is going to be a styling thing that you can figure out for yourself, whichever color you think is best, or if you just have one, that's fine too. We're going to start with a slip stitch and put that slip stitch on your hook. The first thing that we're going to do is make a round so that we can crochet into it. So our first round, our first task, is kind of like making a foundation chain, but this is more like making a foundation round. It's very simple. All you have to do is pull through 4 chains. Once you have that 4th chain, just take this beginning part right here, find the first hole that you can fit your crochet hook into, all right? And all you have to do is pull your yarn through both of those loops. That way you've got a circle here. Okay, so I just want to do that one more time. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this. I'm going to hold this a little bit closer so that you can see it really, really well. Okay, if I shake, I'm sorry. I'm just not used to holding things really high up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we've got our 4 chains here. You can see that. Then I'm going to put this right into that first chain, pull this yarn around here, and then pull it through both this chain and this chain, and now we have a circle. All right, so that is how you get that beginning chain to start crocheting into. All right, so this is row 1, and this is going to be the beginning of our basket bottom. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 2. All right, now we're going to half double crochet 11 stitches into this circle. All right, so here's 1, here's 2, and you keep doing a half double crochet into that circle until you've made 11 half double crochets. Okay, I've done 11 half double crochets in my round, and you can count them by looking at these loops. So this was a chain 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So in order to complete this round, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this chain 2 loop right here, okay? And I'm going to pull a loop through that chain 2 loop and then pull it through the last loop on my hook. And now we have a closing stitch. So now we have our first round absolutely complete. Okay? Next, we're going to chain up 2 more. 1, 2. Now, including this turning chain here, we're going to crochet 1 into this turning loop. Okay? And then 2 into the next. Two half double crochets into the next stitch. Two half double crochets into the next stitch. And continue putting 2 half double crochet chains in 2 half double crochet stitches into each stitch around until you come back to this beginning chain. All right, so I'm almost at the end of this second round, and I want to go ahead and show you what's happening. Since we're putting two half double crochets into each stitch, we are going to have 24 stitches by the end. And how does that happen? Here's how. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then this chain right here, the one that we turned up, this one is also considered a stitch. Okay, so let me just kind of hold that up closer so you can see. This is also a stitch. Okay, so I'm at my last stitch to half double crochet into. So this is 23, 24, and now I go ahead and put this into this chain 2 space, pull through that chain 2 space, and then pull through the last stitch on my hook. And what that's called is called a slip stitch. Okay, so now we have 1 round and we've got 2 rounds. This basket had 3 rounds, so we're going to go ahead and chain 2, and this time we're going to go back into this one. We're going to put 1 double crochet in that. Okay, so that counts as having 2 half double crochets into that stitch. Next, we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to put 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. And again, we're going to put 1 half double crochet into the next stitch and 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. And we're going to go ahead and repeat this with 1 and then 2 all the way around until we come back to this right here. I'll meet you there. All right, so we're at the end of the 3rd round, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 2, pull a loop through that, and then pull a loop through here. That's a slip stitch. Now, if you're going to make the small basket, this is where you'd end. But since we're making the medium size, we're going to do 1 more round around. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2 again. All right. And then we're going to put 1 stitch, 1 half double crochet stitch into the next loop. All right. Then we're going to put 2 half double crochet stitches into the next stitch. One half double crochet into the next, 1 half double crochet into the next, and then 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. And the repeat again is 1 1 2. So 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets. We're going to continue the pattern of 1 1 2 until we come all the way around and we meet up with this chain 2 space right here. See you then. All right, so we are back and I have gone ahead and completed the 4th round. And I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into this turning chain right here by pulling up a loop and pulling that loop through the loop that was on my hook. And now I'm done with the base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off my yarn, pull it tight, and now what I have is the base for my medium basket. Now, I just want to tell you, if yours isn't lying perfectly flat, that's okay. The way that we're designing this is that we're going to make it lie perfectly flat, okay? Also, if maybe you were going around and you were like 1 1 2 2 1 1 2 1, you know, and you accidentally added a stitch, or maybe you took away a stitch or whatever, that's not going to matter. What matters is that you have a circle here that is going to be bigger than the circle for your smaller basket. That's really all that matters. I think a lot of people get really hung up on the idea that there has to be a set amount of stitches or a certain way that everything has to line up by having this exact thing that's put in the pattern, and while following the pattern or doing exactly what the pattern says is the way to get the most consistent project that's going to look like what you're supposed to get. That doesn't mean that you can't change it a little bit. So this is one of those patterns where it's not going to make a big difference if you mess up here and there, at least not in this bottom row. Okay, and again, if it's kind of curling like that, or if it looks a little bit weird, don't worry about it. The way that this is designed, we are going to make sure that this basket looks the right way once we're done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this darker color aside because I'm not going to need that until later. And now I've got some of this lighter color, and I just lost the end, I think. Oh, there it is. Yay. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just because for me it's more simple, is I'm going to join this second color in here, okay? Let's say you're working with the same color. I would recommend still tying off and then joining a new piece to go up vertically. And you'll see why in just a minute, because we're about to change one of the main ways that we've been doing this. So for the purpose of this basket, because really it doesn't have to be perfect. It just, you know, we're making a basket and it's going to look nice on the outside anyway. So for the purpose of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this and make just a little loop here, not a knot, but just a little loop here. And I'm going to go ahead and put my crochet hook through, and I'm going to pull up another loop right here so that I have a loop there. Okay. Now, obviously, this little knot here that I tied, or the little loop here that I tied, isn't supposed to necessarily be so that for perfect security. I'm just doing that so that we can get started with a loop on our hook. Okay? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at these stitches as they go all the way around here, right? And we're going to identify the stitch that is on the inside. Okay, so there's two stitches. This one's on the outside and this one's on the inside. When we identify that inside stitch, we're going to be making the first round for this by single crocheting into each one of these inside loops, okay? Or the inside loop of each stitch. We're going to single crochet into each one of those, all right? So let me show you how we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and skip this stitch right here because I've drawn up a loop here, and I'm going to go into this next stitch right here, okay? So I'm going to put the crochet hook through this, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2, as that is a single crochet, all right? And if you look, you can see that I just did that in one half of the loop and the other half is still right there. What I'm going to do is, as I go around, I'm going to continue, sorry, I was still thinking in half double crochets. I'm going to continue putting my hook into each stitch inside loop, pulling up a loop, and then pulling through 2. And there's my single crochet. Again, we're going only in that inside loop. We're not going to go in both of them. We're just going on the inside loop. And this is, we're creating, the outside loop is able to provide some stability to hold down this circle so that the bottom of the basket will be able to stay flat and the top will start working up using the inside stitch like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around, putting a single crochet into each one of those inner loops until we reach that first single crochet. So I'm going to continue putting single crochets, just one in each one of those inside loops all the way around. And I'll meet you when I get to all the way around to this side. Hi, and welcome back. So I have put a single crochet into each one of those inside loops. You can see this little ridge forming at the bottom on the outside. This just helps the basket stay stable, and we've come right back around to where we tied off. I went ahead and put a single crochet into that loop in that tie off, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that first loop that I pulled up. I'm going to do that by putting my hook under that loop, pulling a loop through, and then pulling a loop through again so that the basket is now joined with that slip stitch. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this next stitch right here, okay? And I'm going to put my hook under both of the loops and put a single crochet into that stitch. Alright. Next, as I go around, I'm going to continue to put a single crochet into both loops of each stitch all the way around. We don't need to increase at this point. We've already made the bottom and gone out. Now we're just building up. And so all we're doing is we're putting one single crochet in each one of those stitches, and we're going through both loops. We only needed to go through that one loop for the very first row. All other rows at this point are going to go through both loops as we work up the body. Okay, so I'm going to go around and I'm going to continue to crochet one single crochet in each stitch as I go around, and I'll meet you back up when I come back to where we just started. Hi again. So I have crocheted all the way around a second time, and I'm right back to this place where we slip stitched into that loop. This time I'm going to continue to single crochet, and I'm going to continue to single crochet all the way around until the sides of my basket are the height that I want to. I want to go ahead and give a little bit of a disclaimer at this point. If you find that your basket is starting to kind of go inward like this, don't worry about it. We're going to get it to the point where it can open up like this by doing a technique that was very similar to how we did this technique down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to single crochet around until the basket is the height that I want it to be. Now, if I was going to write a pattern out for this, I would probably say to do 6 or 7 rounds Okay, so this would be 2, and then I would want to go around either 5 or 6 more times. Okay, so but I do want you guys to understand that the pattern is just a guide, and what you want your basket to look like is completely in your own control. All you have to do is keep going around until you're happy with the size of your basket as far as the height goes. Okay, but just remember that what I'm going to be doing is adding either 6 or 7 more rounds in this color. Okay, understand that at the end we are still going to go up just a little bit more. This is probably going to be anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 inches when we go up with that secondary color. Those of you who are just working with one color will just continue to go. So I just wanted to give you the measurements for that. So at the very most, just remember that it's going to be about 5.5 to 6 centimeters more at the end, or about 1 to 2 inches more that we're going to add at that very end. Just want you guys to know that, so that if you get it up to where you want it, and then you just really don't want to go any higher, you'll know that the last 2 rows are going to also go around. Okay, so get it up to almost just short of where you want it. Okay, so using this as an example, just short of where you want it. So here we go. And another thing I want to say is that if you want to bind off now, this would make a really cute tray that you could put on a table and put knickknacks in it. You could use this for makeup or jewelry. You don't have to make a basket. You could say, oh wow, that looks really nice, I want to stop here, and that's totally up to you. Just know all you have to do is bind off, and then we'll end up weaving in these loops into these loops here, either with a darning needle or with the hook. I usually use a hook when I'm using chunky yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and keep single crocheting around into both loops until the basket is a little bit shorter than as high as I want it. I'll see you then. All right, guys, so as you can see, I did the bottom with you guys, and then I started doing the sides with you guys, and I have crocheted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds of a single crochet in this light purple color, and I went all the way around. And as you can see, if you look at my basket here, I'm trying to get it all on camera here, the sides are kind of folding in towards the center. The reason it's doing that is that for every half double crochet stitch that we did around, right, there's a single crochet stitch. The single crochet stitch is going to be tighter than the half double crochet stitch. And so what happens is that the sides end up starting to stand up and kind of go inward. And that's because the sides need to be nice and tight and sturdy and more stiff so that it'll stand up. Now, if you've gone around 6 times, 7 times, or 8 times like me, it doesn't matter how many times you've gone around. Just for me, 8 times was the right amount for this particular basket. You can find that by putting your basket down, putting your hand on it so you're pushing it down while pulling up the sides, your basket might surprise you as being a lot more tall than you first thought it was. So I just wanted to show you that these single crochets might seem shorter than they actually are. But for me, using this M or 9mm hook, okay, I have created sides that are about 4 inches tall. And if I stretch that out a little bit, it'd probably be about 4.5. Okay? So at this point, I know I've gone around because this is where I added Sorry, I know that I've gone around because this is where I've added this light color was right here. Okay, so I've gone all the way around, and now what I want to do is I want to transition into the darker color for the last few rows around the basket. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm bringing this darker color back. We have the string coming out here. I'm going to leave this attached for just a minute while I take this new color, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a slip knot here, okay, and I'm going to pull this slip knot through. That way I can tighten it on the hook and it'll look like a nice, actually, okay, so we're ready to join the colors. So I've made a slip knot with this darker color here, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color here and I'm going to go into the next stitch like I'm going to make a single crochet. But instead of doing that, instead of pulling up the light color like I had been, I'm going to pull through the dark color, that one little slip stitch. Now you don't have to make a slip stitch. A lot of people don't make the slip stitch and they just pull up a loop. But for me, it just feels a little bit more sturdy when I'm making the slip stitch, okay? I'm going to go ahead and pull this light one tighter so that they're about the same tightness. Then I'm going to pull this darker color through both loops. I've told you many times before I have a cat. That was him trying to get on YouTube again. So now we have the darker color, all right? And we're going to go into the next, and we're going to do the same double crochet as we have been for that next stitch, and then go into the next stitch, do a double crochet, and continue doing this around until you come back to that point where you added this stitch. All right, so I'm going to keep crocheting one single crochet around into both loops until I reach this first dark color where I transitioned. I'll see you there. All right, so I'm back here and I only have a couple more stitches to go into. So I'm going to go into the next stitch here and single crochet, and then I'm going to go into this light color and I'm going to single crochet one more time. Now, I could have cut this off before. I actually probably should have, but since I'm thinking about it now, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, leaving a little bit of a tail so I can weave it in at the end. For me personally, this basket is the size that I want it to be, and I'm ready to do the very last round, okay? So if you want to keep going around, that's fine. Just keep going around, doing a single crochet into both stitches until it reaches the height that you want. But on the last row of this basket, this is where we're going to kind of take this and make it a little bit more open by crocheting into the outside loop. Okay, so we're going to make single crochets in the outside loop only, and let me go ahead and I'll use my scissors to point. So this is the inside loop, all right, and this is the outside loop right here. Okay, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into the outside loop, ignoring that inside loop. We're going to be going into the outside loop in each one of these stitches and doing a single crochet into that outside loop for our very last round. So to demonstrate, I just want to make sure you can see this really well. Here is the next stitch that I'm going to be going into right here. All right there. I'm not going to be going into this stitch. I'm going to be going into this stitch. I'll put my crochet hook into that outside loop and pull up a loop. Now I'm going to single crochet by pulling through. All right, and now I'm going to go into the next stitch just the outside loop only, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2 to single crochet a second one. Going to go in the outside loop only again, and keep doing this all the way around. Something that you'll notice on the inside of the basket when you do this is that you'll start seeing this little line here that's kind of like a ridge on the inside of your basket. That's what you're supposed to be seeing, because all that is that other loop kind of poking up. We're only going into the outside loop, okay? And what this is going to do is going to help this stand up straight so that the basket doesn't turn inward like this. All right? So I'm going to continue crocheting around the basket, going into that outside loop in every single round until I get back to this first crochet that does not have that ridge on the inside, because I'll know that this is the crochet stitch that is going to be my final crochet stitch. So I will meet you a few stitches before there so I can show you how to create a seam that that will make your basket look like it's the exact same all the way around. Okay, so I will meet you there. Hi, okay, so I am almost done with this row, this being the last stitch I need to go into, all right? So I just want to show you how my basket looks. So we've got this, we've got the main color here going up, and then we've got this secondary color around the very edge, and we're about to finish the top of the basket by fading into this last stitch right here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going from here, okay, to here, while also making a seam that will close this gap without having a stitch that sticks up at the end, okay? Let's go ahead and look at this basket again. It's the height that I want it to be. I'll go ahead and turn it on the side. It's the height that I want it to be for my purposes, okay? If you want yours to be higher, that's fine. If you want yours to be shorter, that's fine too. Just go ahead and make it the way that you want it to look. All right? This is the second to last thing we're going to do. The last thing being going back around and reinforcing this bottom, okay? I'm going to slip stitch just in that outside one, just because that's the way that I want mine to look. You can go into both, or you can go into the outside one, depending on the way you want your basket to look. So I've decided I'm going to go just into the outside one and slip stitch by pulling up a loop and then pulling that loop through that last loop, doing it again, there we go, and then doing it in this last stitch here. And that way, this looks practically seamless, okay? It's not going to be perfectly seamless, but it will look practically seamless. And if your basket is not standing straight up, if these are slouching a little bit and you want it super stiff, all you have to do is spray it with spray starch, okay? What I'm going to do at this point is that I'm going to cut this right here. Go ahead and pull it through that loop and pull tight. And I'm going to worry about weaving in these ends at the very end. Here, this is an optional step, but this is something that I like to do on my baskets just to make them look a little bit more stylish. And that is, I go back to the bottom of this basket, right? And remember how we crocheted into the outside loop when we were doing the bottom the first time, when we were first doing that first crochet for the body? Well, I'm going to start right here where we stopped. Again, I'm going to just go ahead and make a slip knot here and pull it through right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet all the way around in this outward loop right here. Okay, and what this is going to do is it's going to create this little ridge like you have here where the basket can, when you sit it down, it'll sit down like that. And you'll have this little bitty decorative piece. Otherwise, it's going to look like this, okay, when you sit it down. Which, if you like that, that's fine. But I just like to kind of poke out this little piece right here so it's a little bit more decorative. So this is completely optional. And again, all I'm doing is doing one single crochet in this loop right here, all the way around. All right. So all you do is just put a single crochet in every single loop around the bottom of your basket. So I'm going to continue putting a single crochet in every single one of these loops on the outside until I come back around, and I'll meet you there. Hi, I have almost made it all the way around, and I just wanted to show you that I'm doing the last stitch here, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this first stitch that I made by pulling up a loop and then pulling that loop through that last stitch. Now I'm going to pull this tail through a little bit, enough to weave in. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to pull this tight. Okay, so at this point, our next task is weaving in all of these ends. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a L hook or an 8mm hook here, and I'm going to use this instead of using a darning needle. I'm going to go ahead and identify where I want to weave in. I've decided for this top string, I'm going to weave it in around this ridge on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull this through and use that crochet hook to pull it up and pull it down until I get it weaved in to enough of these where I don't think it's going to go anywhere. As you can see, I'm just weaving it in and out of this loop right here on the inside. Once I have it through enough, I'm going to go ahead and give it a cut. I've already pulled it tight right here, so I know it's not going to come out, and it's now woven into that. This string, I'm going to do a similar thing, only I'm going to be going into this around this way. So the same thing goes. I'm going to pull this through here with the hook, and then I'm going to go in and out by pulling it through each one of these loops until it's woven in as well in enough of those loops that I feel like it's secure and it's not going to go anywhere. Once I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and snip off this end. I know I pulled it tight into a knot when I finished it right here, and now that it's woven in, it's not showing and it looks nice. I also have this light color right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it through here into the inside so that I can hide that inside of the basket. I've decided that I'm going to pull this light colored yarn through these loops here and hide this underneath these loops. So I put my crochet hook underneath those loops. I grab a hold of that lighter color. Okay, I've got it through the loops, hooking that onto there. Then I'm just going to go ahead and pull it through each one of these loops. Alright, just want you to see. There we go. I feel like it's well hidden underneath there, so I can cut it right here. I know it's already pulled tight on the outside here. I just need to bring it in the inside and take care of those. Now we've got these loops right here. So the first one I'm going to take care of is this light color. Again, I'm going to put my crochet hook in and pull it into the inside. I'm going to hide it under these two loops here so that it won't poke out. And again, it might be a little bit tight, but if you maneuver this hook, it'll pull right through and you'll be able to get that string underneath those two loops. I don't really feel like I need to cut it, but I'm going to anyway, just so that everything looks nice and neat on the inside. The outside, I still have a lot of loops here. This purple one, I could pull it through this circle right here and hide it that way. Or I can pull it into the basket like I did before and taking my smaller hook, hide it underneath some of these on the inside of the basket. I can continue going all the way around and hide it underneath each one of these stitches, or I can just hide it through a few of them and then snip it off. The last ones are these purple ones right here. Again, I'm going to take my crochet hook, put it into the basket from the outside here, or well, I'm pulling from the outside in. I'm going to just go ahead and pull those in to the basket there. I'm going to also pull this into the basket, but I'm going to go a little bit different route because this one doesn't want to lie flat. Now, all of these are pulled inside to the basket. What I like to do when I have a whole bunch of loops like this is to just tie them in a knot. And then just snip them off. If you want to hide them underneath the stitches, you can do that as well, the same way that we did the other ones. So let's go ahead and look at our basket and look at the way it's created so that we can get a good idea as to how this basket works. So we created it first by creating a circle here, and then we did 4 rounds until we came to the end of the 4th round. Then we changed colors, and using the inside loop of the stitch, we started single crocheting all the way around up until we had 8 rows if you're doing it the way that I did, or up until it was just smaller than the size that we wanted. Then we changed colors and we did another round all the way around the same way. Our last round, we went into that outside loop and single crocheted all the way around in that outside loop so that our basket wouldn't be pulling inwards like that and instead would stand up more straight. At the end, we put that final touch on the base by going around and crocheting 1 single crochet into the outside loop of that last stitch in our round. I personally like this because it creates this kind of stylish look where you have a little bit of what looks like the bottom peeking out, and you can see the difference between the bottom color, the middle, and the top. If you don't like the way that looks, that's fine. You don't have to do it. At the end, we just pulled in all of the extra strings into the inside and then wove them into the stitches around in the center. Now we have a basket. So for me, this is a medium-sized basket. However, for you guys, maybe this feels more like a large, or maybe this doesn't feel big enough to be a medium. Size is going to be in the eye of the beholder. So as we talk about making nesting baskets, some nesting baskets are very, very tight around each other, and some of them have a lot more space around, right? I wanted my baskets to be very different in sizes, so that's why I chose this method to do it. All right, I have this size, which is pretty small, and then I have this one, which is pretty big in comparison. But to me, I can make an even bigger basket and have 3 matching baskets, all of them in different sizes. For you, there's 2 ways to approach the different sizes. I'm going to go into the first way now. The first way to make these nesting baskets in 3 different sizes is to follow the instructions on making the medium basket. Only for one of the baskets, make it with an L or 8mm hook. For the middle size basket, make it with an M or 9mm hook. And for the large basket, make it with an N or a 10mm hook. These baskets will be closer together in size, but the difference between the millimeters in each crochet stitch will create nesting baskets that are very clearly 3 different sizes: a small, medium, and large. The medium would be using the M hook. Now, if this medium basket is too big for you to be the medium size, then you can always make this with an L hook and use K, L, and M. Or you can even go down to a J hook. All right, it's up to you. You have a lot of freedom in this pattern. Now, here I'm going to go into the second way that you can make these baskets in a small, medium, or large by only using an M hook. So, the second way that you can make all 3 different sizes with the same size hook, which I use a size M 9mm hook, is to look at this that I've written out for you guys, okay? So you can either pause the video and write this down yourself and then go over it with me, or you can just go over it with me as I'm talking about it right now. For the small size, you do, with the bottom you use color A, and you make 3 rounds in the half double crochet. With the sides, you attach color B, make 6 rounds in the single crochet, and then you attach color A and make 2 more rounds in the single crochet, with that outside loop being the last round that you do. And then it's optional, but for me, I like that decorative color A on the bottom with 1 round on the outside loop for the small basket. The medium would be, you'd start with color B, you'd do 4 rounds of half double crochets the same way that we described in this video. The sides, we'd take color A and do 8 rounds all the way around in 1 single stitch. And then in color B, we'd do 2 more rounds, one of them being with both loops, and the last one being on the outside loop of that last round. And then again, optional, you can use color B around the outside loop of the bottom to create this decorative element that we talked about using this basket right here. All right. Next, color with a size large basket, you start the bottom with color A. You do 5 rounds of half double crochets. In the 5th round, instead of doing 1, 1, 2, you'll do 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2 to increase that last row. For the sides, you'd use color B and you'd do 10 rounds of a single crochet going up the sides. Then you'd switch to color A again and you'd do 3 rounds up the sides, with that last round being on the outside loop of the last round. And then optional, you can go back to the bottom, add color A, and do 1 round on the outside loop, creating that decorative stitch. This gives you 2 different options to create nesting baskets in 3 separate sizes using the same color. When we first started out, I said that you would need 1 ball of a acrylic size 6 in one color and 1 ball of an acrylic size 6 in the second color. I've decided to change that requirement if you're going to be using the M hook, and go ahead and say, if you want to get contrasting colors, go ahead and get 2 balls in each color. That way you'll have enough to make the small, the medium, and the large basket. If you're only going to be using 1 color, then you can ignore the color A and color B because it's all going to be the same color. And you can go ahead and get 3 balls of these acrylic size 6 chunky weight and make the baskets that way. What you're looking at is we have 108 yards per ball. So you're going to need about 400 yards of yarn regardless of what you make. Okay? When you're switching colors, you're having to snip off tails and keep weaving them in. But if you're doing 1 color, you can just keep going without having to cut off tails as much. And so you're not going to need as much yarn to do that. But I just want to make sure that you guys would have enough to be able to make all 3 baskets. And I think that if you used a 9mm size M hook for each basket, then you would need 2 of each color to make all 3 baskets in that last, using the method where we are making a small, medium, and large this way. However, if you're using the L hook, the M hook, and the N hook, or even if you're using the K, L, and M instead to make your different size baskets, then I would say you could probably be okay using just 2 balls, either in contrasting colors or in the same color. Each one of your baskets is going to be closer together in size, however, so just kind of keep that in mind. I hope that you've really enjoyed this tutorial. I've really enjoyed showing it to you guys. It was really fun to get to work with this with you, and I can't wait to make more tutorials like this for you guys. Right now I have so many projects that I can't wait to share with so many really beautiful patterns. I don't want to overwhelm you guys by bringing in a whole bunch of really complex patterns until I at least teach you guys the basics. So for those of you who are just starting out with crochet, you can go ahead and subscribe and check out my beginner videos so that you can get used to all the stitches we're going to be using as we continue to advance into more complex stitches and more complex projects. For those of you who are already intermediate or advanced crocheters, you might want to go ahead and subscribe because I'm going to be including those kinds of tutorials as we go on. Plus, I'm going to be having a lot of giveaways and a lot of extra content that's just talking about yarn and talking about other kinds of crafts that you might also be interested in. I really had a lot of fun making this with you guys today, and I hope you did too. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about this crochet tutorial. Tell me if you have any suggestions on different things that I could do to make these better. And let me know if you would like to see more content like this.